Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Marriage Alive. I'm Kerese.
And I'm Carlyle. We've been married for 3 years. We dated, We did it for 4 years. And the entire thing was long distance. So we did it for 4 years. We were long distance for that 4 years. And within our marriage as well, we spent a year apart. So I guess we can talk a bit about the journey of dealing with long distance issues.
Yeah, so today we are going to be getting into how we have experienced marriage and how we have been working to ensure that we are maintaining a healthy relationship amidst and dealing with distance. Let's get into it. I've been having lots of these conversations about how we've kind of worked through the challenges that come with relationships and being proactive. I know Marriage Alive talks a lot about being proactive and stuff. And we've been talking on our podcast, my wife is a therapist, about the importance of doing that. But before we get into kind of divulging the bits about long distance relationship, I guess we could talk a little bit about how we met.
Yeah, so it's a very different story. We have different ways of describing this. So I met Kerese. This is when I met Kerese. I met Kerese in Form 1. So that would be grade 7. So after we wrote our common entrance exams. So in Guyana, this is how it's done. You have a nationwide exam, and then you're awarded a place at various secondary schools. So we were awarded a place at the same secondary school, and we were in the same class. And then I think it probably was the first day of school. This girl came up to me and said, "Hi, Carlyle, don't you remember me?" Or something of the sort. And isn't your mother this person? Your father that person? Like, yeah, but I don't remember you. And she's like, "Carlyle, you don't remember me?" I was like, "No, Carlyle, you don't remember." I don't know, by saying it multiple times, if they would have jogged my memory or something. But that's how I met Kerese.
Pull it back. I have known Carlyle since I have known myself. Okay, our parents have been friends for a very long time, since before we were born.
Our dads were actually like housemates too.
Yeah, our dads lived together before they got married.
Yeah.
And so they've been friends since before we were even thoughts in our parents' minds. And I remember Carlyle coming to my house. Imagine he can remember all of this. Coming to my house, spending time with my family, because he would come with his parents and stuff. And I always, as a little girl, I did think he was a little cute. And I guess I remembered him. I remembered him in that way, but it just so happened that when we wrote that exam in Trinidad, it was called C. I don't know what it's called now, or SCA. I used to call it C, but SCA.
Kerese is called LED lights, LED lights.
We're gonna talk about that today. That's another thing for another day. But anyway, so what was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
Talking about C.
Right.
SCA.
So when we wrote that exam at the same time, we both ended up getting the same school. And as God would have it, we were in the same class all the way through high school. So we've been friends for a very long time. From that day of me asking him if he could remember me and being quite appalled and hurt and crushed in my soul and spirit, I guess we became really good friends over the years, and we stayed in touch. And
I think that's what helped us to be able to do a long distance relationship, because we weren't necessarily getting to know each other during the relationship. We already knew each other. We were already friends. So I guess that was the basis. That was the foundation that allowed us to try to do the long distance relationship, because it could be a very tough thing. So I thought, because we were friends before, that made it a bit easier to do the long distance relationship thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Friendship just continues to be a real foundation for everything that we do. We're friends first. He really is my best friend. And I think that's been a huge feature for us, even after the time of dating. Our relationship has just been really, I don't think we've been able to escape distance. I always knew somewhere in the back of my mind that God allowed us to date long distance as preparation for something. So I went to school in Trinidad from 2008 to 2012. and I went home, and Carlyle left for the UK in that year. And he stayed here he came back home to Guyana, went back home to Guyana in 2013, and we started dating then. And then you came home in 2016, and I came to the UK in that same year. We got engaged that September. And then I came to the UK, in that same month to do my postgraduate studies. And then I went home in 2017 and we got married. So all of our the foundation, I suppose, well, not the foundation, but the dating stage of our relationship, the courtship, the courting, as we say in Guyana. You don't say courting, courting. The
old people.
The old people. Yeah, so all of that was Skype. It was so bad. I used to walk down the road singing the Skype tune.
Yeah, it was Skype sometimes, yeah.
I'm just hearing it in my head because we were on it so often. So I think that in itself, because we were so accustomed to doing our relationship in that way. I know, when we did get married, it was a different kind of relationship. It was a different type of relating to each other as well. And so there was a lot of difference there. But I think because we had so much practice in being apart and learning to do life together but separately, that really helped us, I guess, you think?
Yeah, it did. And I know people would often say, oh, the first year of marriage can be very difficult. And then, so we were doing long distance relationship, and then we got married and we were in the same house. And like, is this hard for you? I was like, are we doing something wrong? Because it wasn't, obviously we had our disagreements, we had our arguments and things like that, but it wasn't catastrophic like some people made you to think. So I don't know if people advise you based on their experiences, and because maybe their experiences were very difficult, they would try to tell you to expect that as well. Right? No, it's, I guess that's a good thing. People are trying to prepare you. But if you're a young couple and you're trying to get married or you're thinking about getting married, you shouldn't necessarily be afraid because people tell you how difficult it is or how difficult their marriage was. It doesn't have to be a traumatic experience, right? So we were actually enjoying it. We are enjoying it, and we're like, we often question, like, are we doing something wrong? What's going on? Or is it maybe we're still in the honeymoon period, right? We kept saying, oh, we're still in the honeymoon period. Maybe next year is going to be tough. And I guess, I don't know. It's I guess it's a sad way to look, a sad outlook of life, that you're always looking or expecting the tough things to come. So we're 3 years in. I guess people will still say we're toddlers, right? But we're enjoying it. At least it's been three good years, even with 1 year in between where we were separated.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of that joy that we experienced after and even during our courtship was really great as well. And we did communicate quite a lot. I think that has continued. With friendship and all that has continued to be another really important ingredient for us. But we spent a lot of time talking about real stuff. I don't think there was any question that I needed to ask you by the time we got married that I hadn't asked. So I asked everything I could think of. You name it, I asked it. I wasn't leaving anything to chance. And even though we knew each other fairly well, because we had been friends for such a long time, there was a lot of that communication that went into not just our marriage, but it was already a part of what we were doing. And just getting into the flow of making sure that we were not overburdening each other. I think we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. But I suppose that's the point for the conversation to flow naturally. So how have we kept an emotional connection while we've been physically apart? Have we kept an emotional connection?
Well, Kerese and I are very different, right? So Kerese would ask me if I'm feeling loved, right? Or if I would say, I don't need to feel loved. I know that you love me, and that's enough for me, right? So in a similar way, I don't necessarily need to feel an emotional connection. If we're talking, so what we did, we spoke every day. We spoke, I guess, we generally spoke a lot during the days. And as we were reflecting on this, I said to her, when we were apart, we probably talk more because we're texting all the time. So when I was in Guyana, and we were both in Guyana, I would go to work, I'd see her in the morning, bye bye, see you. Go to work for 8 hours, and then throughout the work day, probably wouldn't speak to her much, and then we get home back and then spend time together and things like that. But when we're apart, we're just basically talking throughout the entire day consistently. So that helps us to talk a lot. Yeah.
Let me just explain to the people. He doesn't not talk to me because he couldn't, but he was working. The job that he did didn't allow him to have his phone.
Okay, yeah. Or maybe that's the excuse. Why are you very like that?
Yeah. So yeah, but we do talk a lot when we're apart from each other. Sometimes all day. Just texting or some nonsense, just keep making sure that we keep the communication lines open. When I was in at CNC, I did a course in conflict resolution, and that's something that even in those times when I really want to do it and I really want to give in to my flesh and be just keeping the communication lines open was really important. And it was really important to fight that desire to just shut down, to pull away from you and all that. And I suppose remembering John Gottman's principles about stonewalling, and now those are things that I've learned now about how to ensure that we are keeping our relationship going and all that. But yeah, I think that's really been important. Anything else that you could think of, like how have we kept connected to each other?
Well, we used to send gifts.
Yes.
Every time my housemate thought I shopped on Amazon a lot, but I didn't know when things were coming, and then something would come and my name is on it and I didn't order it, and then Kerese was like, "Oh, I sent something for you." So that was actually quite nice. And so every time I'd say, "Oh, I need this thing," I wasn't telling her I wanted her to buy it for me. I was like, "Oh," like for example, I was in the UK. I just brought cold weather clothes, basically, right? I didn't bring any shorts or slippers or anything from Guyana because Guyana is hot. The UK is not, right? Even in the summers, it doesn't really get that hot, right? But there were times when it was really hot. There were like a week or so when it was really, like, I need to buy some shorts or whatever. Then, bops. A couple of days or a day later, I turn up and a packages on the doorstep. It's like, "Oh, I've got shorts and vests and stuff." Like it was sent from Korea. So things like that helped as well.
Yeah, and I think we discovered early in our marriage, I think just before we got married, probably around the wedding time when we were planning, and we were having a little bit of squabbles over trying to remember where things were or what we needed to do, but making use of Google Sheets. Google Sheets is a saver. Making sure that we're putting things in the Google Sheet. So we'll start a Google Sheet we have a Google Sheet for things that we like. So that if either of us wants to find something or to just send a gift, or if a special occasion is coming up or whatnot, then we can always go there and see what the other person is wanting. So it's wants and needs and possibly gifts that we can have. And that's been really helpful. So I think Google Sheets has really been a real godsend in our marriage, and it's a really cool way to keep connected across the distance, because it's a live sheet. It's just one link that we use. I mean, hopefully we know how it works, and if you don't know how it works, then Google that. But yeah, that's been really, really helpful, and it's also been a way of sharing ideas as well. So if something's going on, if we're working on a project or working on anything at all, then that really helps as well. I suppose our podcast has been a way of us doing
stuff together.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I guess so. The question, this just came to my mind. The question about how do we stay emotionally connected. And I remember, like, every time I did an assignment, because I was here to study, Kerese would proofread it for me. And it was like, that was really helpful, and it was special to me because she helped a lot and she would just go over it and give me ideas. Even though she had no idea about the topic area, at least she could have read for the syntax and looked at my grammar and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then gave me encouragement, saying, oh, this is amazing. I don't know if it just sounded amazing or whatever, but like, for example, she read my entire dissertation, right? It was like 15,000 words was the limit. And she read the entire dissertation and she said it sounded really good, even though I was doubting myself. And she said, oh, this is really good work. And yeah, and I guess, as she said, it was good work and I got a good grade. So things like that, I guess working together, even though you're apart, somehow finding projects you can do together, because yes, you definitely need to find ways of staying connected.
Yeah.
We would have also, like, I seem like a lot. Yeah, we also had time together. So the time distance was an issue sometimes. So that's something we needed to navigate. But one of the things that we did is we blocked out Sunday afternoons. So it would have been afternoon her time, evening my time, and we would look at movies together. So at that time it was called Netflix Party.
Another godsend.
Yeah, which we use Netflix Party and then we look at films together. And it's just a chat with just two of us talking nonsense. All right. And yeah, that kept us together, kept us going. There's times that we look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was also important for us to have, I remember like a couple of months after we got married, this older lady saw us at church and she said, she was talking to me particularly, she said, do not lose your individuality. And I guess that could be interpreted in different ways. Don't lose your individuality, like don't lose yourself in your husband kind of thing. But I think I took it as something that was really important to remember, that I am an individual. Yes, I am married to my husband. I am joined to him. We have a life together. The two have become one and all that. But I still have an individual purpose. I still have, and part of that purpose is loving you and supporting you and being your wife and all that entails. But I do have things that are my own that I can nurture. And I think when you had to leave to come to the UK to study, it was incredible how God created opportunities for me to get plugged into, and so I could stay busy and my whole life wasn't revolving around you. You are my world, but you're not the center of it. Well, I guess you are in a way. I don't even know how to.
You are my world, but you're not the center of it.
Yeah. It's deep, baby. It's deep. My world doesn't revolve around you. Like I could get on with
I get the point. I get the context in which you're talking.
I guess another way that we've kept connected is that we are able to laugh at each other. Even in conversations like this, there are so many things that could come up and little things that can, because we are so different, we have different approaches to things. So it's so important that we have tried to maintain that we would have fun in our marriage, which I think we've been able to do for the most part. We're quite comical. It gets real comical up in here. What was I saying before that? Yeah, so I had things that I was doing that I was really involved in because he was off studying, having a ball, making friends and doing incredible things. So that was really important, that I wasn't just at home twiddling my thumbs, praying for the day when you would come home, but I had my girlfriends that I was hanging out with as well. I was in different projects I was involved in, serving in church, taking care of our dogs and our cat, and just, having my own things, cultivating hobbies as well, learning how to do things that were really important to me, having sleepovers, going on trips with my niece, and just really doing things that I probably would not have been able to or been
Wouldn't
interested
have wanted
in.
to do. Yeah.
Yes, I would not have been interested in doing as much if you were there. Yeah, so I just go to the mall randomly. And
you're always at the mall.
I was always at the mall. Not necessarily buying anything, maybe chapstick or something, but I was always at the mall. It was on the way so I started lecturing. It was incredible how many things came up at once. I think that was God's way of taking care of me. But yeah, just cultivating my own interests and allowing you the space that you needed to do that. But also still taking each other along for the ride, I suppose. So you would still send me photos, for example, of things that you saw when you were experiencing the world, or you would tell me a joke or something, even if I had to beg for it.
Yeah, and that's something I learned as well. So I like taking photos. She bought me a camera as a wedding gift. I love it. It's my baby, right?
Cameron,
yeah. So she bought me a camera for a surprise gift on the wedding day. She gave me after the wedding. Yeah, so whenever I went on trips and stuff like that, I took photos of the landscapes. But she wants the pictures of me.
Of course. Why am I looking at the mountain?
So I guess things like that. I did things, and I don't want to be in front
picture,
of the camera. Yeah. I'm there, so I know I'm there, right? So I did things like that. I said, oh, please take a picture of me for my wife, and I sent her pictures and things like that. Helped her to feel like she's a part of the journey. Yeah. And that's one of the things that you learn. I guess this is something that you would apply in your life on a day-to-day basis as well. Even it doesn't necessarily need to only apply to long-distance relationships, but you just do things that you know your spouse appreciates. So, for example, it's a very simple thing. Kerese likes when I send emails to her, right? She likes me to sit down and write a long email or a short email. Just even though we're talking, right? Even though we're talking every day or we're talking most of the day, yeah. She would still like for me to send her emails. So that's something I took the time out to do every now and then. Sometimes I got sloppy with it and things like that, but I tried to make an effort to do it because she appreciated that. And that sometimes when I sit and think about that, and she'd be really excited and happy about that, which just blew my mind. It's like, it's just an email, right? But that's something like when I thought about it, I thought, she's such a simple woman, just a simple thing like that. And it also, well, this is my generalization, this is my deep thoughts that I had from that. You want to hear it?
Yes, please.
So the thought was like, I generally don't like to generalize. Right? Good. But like from looking at various things, hearing various women speak, and from the experience with my wife, sometimes right? And I think men in general sometimes, right, would think that, oh, we need to do this massive act, this massive romantic act, right? To please this woman, to get this woman blown off her feet or so. But by just judging, by knowing what she likes and doing that and making an effort to do that, somehow my wife thinks that's romantic. So I guess that can also be extrapolated a bit to some women and some men as well who may have similar ideals, because we're all humans and we all have so many similarities. Even though we like to claim we're individuals, we still have so much in common, right? So I guess this can be someone else, probably one other couple of theirs, one other man of theirs thinks in a similar way, oh, we need to do this big act to show this big romantic act, this romantic gesture. Yeah. And even though I guess those are good, my wife loves it when I give her a nice gift or I throw flowers all over the house, right? Yeah. But she really likes when I sit and write a simple email, because I guess obviously she knows I can't throw flower petals every day.
That'll be annoying. Hopefully no.
Exactly. Right, but I can write an email a bit more often. So it's about knowing what the partner likes and doing it. And
yeah, I saw a quote today. I can't remember the whole thing, but the essence of it was something that John Gottman says in his work. It's John Gottman and his wife Julie Gottman. They have done over 40 years of research with couples. So if you've not heard of them yet, then I would really advise you to check out their work. I use a lot of their material in my work with couple clients. But he says small things often, and I think that's it. It's that sometimes, like you're saying, somebody might think I need to do this big thing. And because they think that it needs to be a big thing, they miss the opportunities to do the small things. And to somebody like me,
you're making valid points.
Valid points.
Yeah.
So for somebody like me, when you miss those small things, it's hard to appreciate the big things, because in something as small as smiling at me when I pass by, yeah. or touching me, or just saying something nice, you look really nice today, or whatnot. When those things are missed in the everyday experiences, when this big thing happens, it's kind of like, can I trust this? Because you've not done it in the other everyday moments of our lives, which is really where the relationship's foundation is built and cemented and all of that. So yeah, remember that small things often. That's certainly something that's been really important to us. And it's, I think a friend of mine who's also a therapist, she would say, you know, Kerese, you give what you need. And I had to really continue to remind myself of that, because I would do things for Carlyle that I want him to do for me.
What me want.
And he wants. And I guess he does the same. He likes when I do things for him. So he would do things for me. And I certainly appreciate it because, of course, as you heard, all of the 5 love languages are mine. Okay. But it was about me learning to, that was sort of a way of me dying to myself as well, learning to honor your individuality by letting go of what I think you need, and listening to you when what you actually need is space. You love your space, and I like my space too, but I like you in my space for the most part. So yeah, it's about learning to honor. It has been very much about learning to honor each other's individuality and to celebrate, as we say on our podcast, it's not bad, it's just different. So yeah, I mean, we're not coming on here in any way, shape, or form to say if you do these things, then you will certainly experience a healthy relationship if you're dealing with distance in your relationship. Did I say it right?
So what are you talking about then?
So I'm saying this is what I'm trying to say. This is what works for us.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And you need to, know your partner, know what your partner needs, and the way to find that out is to actually communicate with each other, find out about what the other needs. I think an important thing for me has been, interestingly, in order for me to stay connected to you emotionally, I had to have my spaces to connect with my friends. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So I had to have those spaces where it wasn't just about you. So there was a time when we were apart and I telling this boy, I feeling lonely. I miss you. I miss somebody to talk to. What about me?